Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for June 3rd, 2022. I am Benji Fisher moderating. Also here are Antonia sharing her screen, Aaron McHale, Andre Pedrosa, Offer Schall, and Ralph Kohler. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, so if it's easier for you to type rather than talk, I will read your comments into the meeting. And we don't have any issues up for discussion. I don't see anything from the issue for today's meeting. I don't see anything in Slack, but Antonia did notice something, and we're seeing your terminal window. So go ahead, Antonia.
No. I wasn't trying to share my terminal window. Excuse me.
There we go.
Do you see the issue queue now?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as Benji said, I don't have a particular issue to talk about. I was just changing some config today on an existing site, and it's a multilingual site. And under configuration, regional and language, content, language, and translation, you can find a rather long list depending on the website size, with content types, paragraph types, a bunch of fields that you can set to translatable or not translatable. And I just found myself clicking on those field names, expecting them to check and uncheck the inputs right beside those, but they didn't. So again, I don't think this is a bug, but I think it would be nice if this was if this checkbox was associated with a label. But I think, you know, judging by this class form dash item dash dash no label, I think this, you know, it's meant to be like this. I was just wondering if any one of you had noticed this or knew of an existing issue. And Andre was trying to reproduce that, and on his screenshot I saw that he was using 7. And Andre, if you're not able to reproduce this, and if you see a label here, then it might be a Claro issue.
Yeah, I noticed that you were using Claro, so I tried to use Claro now. The only problem is that I can't get the sub list. For example, in the article, I just see the first article, and I don't have published, authored by, title. These fields doesn't appear to me.
Oh well, that's unusual. Maybe your site wasn't properly set up for multilingual. I'm not sure if you have all
probably
modules.
Something that I haven't. Probably something that I haven't set it up correctly.
Oh, I guess I can just.
Yeah, I was going to suggest that.
Yeah.
You could switch to 7 and see whether it works there.
Sure. Okay, let's have a look. Doesn't seem like it's a label. No, just a string. So I guess it's not a specific to Claro then.
Yeah, so I'd agree this would be a nice, it'd be nice for that to be possible to be a label and linked to the checkbox. I also think there's it's potentially an accessibility problem because you've got a bunch of checkboxes with no labels attached. So if a screen reader user, for instance, was trying to navigate the checkboxes, they would have no context as to what the checkboxes were attached to. So there's potentially actually an accessibility problem there as well.
Oh yeah, that would be a nightmare.
Yeah, so I would definitely think opening an issue, at least as a first step, to explain the problem would be valuable to do, and maybe also tagging it for accessibility as well.
Right, yes. If I'm not able to find an existing issue, I will create one myself.
Excellent.
Great, thank you.
And I guess once the issue is created, we can look at it and figure out whether it's actually coming from the theme layer or maybe it's coming from the language module. But if we get it wrong the first time around, that's okay because we can always change it later.
Sure, I'll make sure to post a link in Slack if I create or if I find an issue.
Great, thank you. So sort of general question. Do people have time to devote to usability outside of the weekly meeting? And if so, what can we do to enable you? Are there developers looking for issues to work on? Are there any of us who want to do design or move an issue forward, or think about moving some set of issues forward, whether it's as a developer or an advocate or a designer? What can we do between meetings that we're not already doing?
So it's funny you mention this because for a while I've been thinking that we review issues, and then for instance for me, if it's an issue I'm particularly interested in, I will follow it and I will try to progress it through continuous reviews or prodding people if it's got someone working on it, doing reviews of the code and then trying to get it to RTBC. And we've been successful in that with a number of issues. But I wondered if there, as you kind of discussed, maybe there's a way that this could be a more coordinated effort of not just reviewing issues in the usability meeting, but also like seeing, kind of like an initiative might do, like seeing issues through to completion. So we, Benji and I had talked about in the past whether there's worth having some kind of community usability initiative, and maybe that's something that like a community initiative like that would be well suited for. And then at the end of at the end of a 6-month period, like for a DrupalCon or something, we could report on these are all the usability issues that we sort of championed through to completion, I guess you could say.
Yeah, that is a good goal to have. I don't know that we have the resources to actually act more like an initiative. But so a few things we have talked about recently are the user edit pages, and it would be nice to focus on something like that for a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it takes to make some progress on them. Or just identify what our current focus is in addition to whatever comes up at the meetings. But again, do people have time that they can devote to this outside of meetings, or is the weekly meeting mostly what you can afford to spend?
May I?
Go ahead.
I like the idea to have a dedicated topic, like, for example, the user page, and focus on that, or, for example, the installer. We've talked in the last meeting briefly, or the meeting before, and yeah, maybe work aside the weekly meeting, maybe agree on a, well, bi-weekly basis, maybe an hour or two, if that's possible, and in between perhaps do some research and make some thought work, and then in a group context work on that to give more actionable suggestions for the particular area of focus. And another idea I liked, I guess Clayton was his name, with I'm blanking on the name of the module, but he created an issue with some sort of user tests open to anybody, and that could be also something we could do as a group, suggesting for certain areas of Drupal core 3 or 4 tasks that anybody could test, create a video, screen capture for, with thinking out loud, and that would be an easy credit for anybody early on, as well as some more experienced users, and that could be also a good resource to provide more informed feedback to certain parts of Drupal core. For example, the workspaces is still in a not ready stage, let's put it that way, or for example, it would be a good way to improve views, and so on. Yeah, well, those would be my 2 cents.
Any other opinions?
Yeah, well, the only thing that I am actually able to do as a junior developer, I'm still relatively new to Drupal, like less than a year. So what I try to do is I actually try to work on the issues that we review here when I don't find it too much complex to me, because I found it easier to help with the review than with the actual integration, like actual coding. But actually, the time of my work is dedicated to working on issues from the community. So always that I can. So in all the opportunities that I have to work on issues that we reviewed here, I do. The only problem is that sometimes I don't know how to implement the solution or to code, just because of my lack of experience.
Okay, so you have time but not experience. I think Aaron and I have experience but not time as backend developers. And Antonia also put a comment in the chat. She says, I can invest more than 1 hour a week, but starting the 13th of June, I'll be out for at least 2 weeks. So I hope that goes well. And she continues, I've contributed patches and can do work on some issues, but I have to admit I haven't worked with merge requests yet. The docs overwhelmed me. So I guess I can offer, and I suspect that some of the other experienced developers on this call will agree that if you ask for help in Slack in the UX channel, we'll be happy to advise. Again, we are sort of limited by time, but if we can enable you, if working with merge requests is the problem, we can help there. Andre, if you are not sure how to approach a problem and need some advice, we can help there.
Okay, thanks. I really appreciate.
So if you have time and we have experience, we can work together and make some progress. Antonia says thank you. I think we're all happy to help, and we'd all like to help more. It's just that we have different limits. But again, I often say that the strength of this group is its diversity, and we can use that to our advantage. Combine those of us who have time with those of us who have experience. And if we do have time to spend, is there a focus you'd like to work on? I suggested the user edit pages. Are there other things that have come up or maybe new things that you'd like to work on? I guess we're starting, it's early June now, so we're starting the third quarter of the year. That's maybe a good time to choose a focus for the next few months. Any suggestions?
I think the user pages are good candidate. I also know we did have quite a bit of planning around the appearance pages. And so there's potentially some opportunity to progress that from the planning work that we all sort of collectively did there.
Okay, Ralph, do you want to say something?
Yeah, in regards to the appearance pages, they're waiting for design review or design drafts or proposals at the moment. So it's not really on the UX side at the moment. It's more design work that has to be done at first.
Yeah, so I know so potentially if that's a bit of a blocker, maybe the user pages, which could use, I know there's some issues that would be valuable to get done. Maybe that is potentially a good area for us to champion, because a lot of it is mostly just focused on, the layout of things, how information is presented, where things are laid out. So I think that's probably within the skill set of people who are regularly attend these meetings.
Yeah, let's see, maybe we can recruit some other people. If any of you know designers who are interested in or maybe just need to be asked, maybe we can get some design help on those appearance page issues. And let's plan next week, unless something else comes up, let's plan to return to the user edit pages. So we can have some discussion in Slack. I can probably dig up what the issues were that we were looking at a few months ago.
Yeah,
Okay.
one other thing I wonder is if it's worth having if we do decide to sort of change change that approach a little bit and start to be a bit more targeted in the approach, we might want to consider whether there's some additional tagging that we could do. So maybe we have like again, I'm trying to avoid the word initiative, but like maybe there's maybe we have some tags that we can attach to issues, like you might do a code sprint or something, so that it's easier to track. We basically have a tag we can look at and say, okay, these are all the issues we're tracking through to completion, kind of thing. which is more specific than just the general like usability tag or niche usability review, because those are more general to things that are across Drupal.
Or another thing we could do to keep track of things is link 1 or 2 meta issues in the Slack channel.
Yeah.
I'm kind of nervous about adding additional issue tags because the standard instructions say, don't just put random stuff in here, you use official issue tags. But maybe I'm being too cautious. But the Slack channel is sort of more under our control. We can do whatever we want with it.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think also like I have a hesitation about saying, oh, let's create a tag, because then it implies that I mean, then it kind of commits us to doing something, because then there's like an element of oh, we have this tag, so I feel like there's probably more of an expectation, whereas at the moment we're purely just saying, okay, let's try and see if this works. We're not really committed to doing something in the long term. Again, why I'm trying to avoid using the word initiative, because that has some implications. So yeah, maybe if we have a meta issue for those user, I know there was a meta issue for the appearance pages. So if there's a meta issue to cover user pages that we want to, for issues we want to target, then that would probably be a good first step, certainly.
Benji created one for the user pages in the ideas queue. 1 second. Found it. I'll post it in the chat.
Oh, good for you. I created the issue and you posted a substantial comment there. So let me right now, unless someone has beaten me to it, add that to as a bookmark. Add a bookmark to this channel. Okay, so we now have that meta issue linked in the Slack channel.
Yeah, and I'd like to, I was looking at that issue and completely forgot that I had also linked another issue from it. But there's an issue all around kind of like rationalizing the use of block versus disabled related to users. So which came from some work we did earlier from improving the text on the account cancellation screen. And I think there was some follow-up issues from that as well around, I think actually I don't remember if we were going to change cancellation to something else. I think I have a vague memory of that.
So if there is already an issue for that, if you can find it, you can add it either as a child issue of this meta, or if it already has some other parent issue, you could add it as related. Maybe it's already there. There's a related issue.
Yeah, there's the rename account cancellation to account closure in the UI, which it looks like it got stalled, and I forget why or where it got to.
But I'm looking at the issue that Ralph just linked us to, which, by the way, for the sake of the recording, is 3251513. And it has a related issue, 3229136, rationalize our use of block and disable relating to users. So that sounds like it's closely related to what you're talking about.
Yeah, that was the issue. Yes, that was the issue I'd mentioned, and there's also this issue 3229146, which is about an issue to rename account cancellation to account closure.
Okay, so if you want, you can make this, this is already sort of a meta issue with with at least one child issue.
Yeah,
but anyway.
the child issue is more of a technical underlying changes to this issue is actually quite straightforward in that it's literally about just changing text in the UI. It's just a bit of I think it got stalled because we need to go through the UI and actually find all the instances where it needs to be changed. So it's kind of one of those issues that actually, we could probably get done quite easily. It just needs a bit of effort to do it.
Oh, so I mentioned that this is the start of the third quarter of 2022. It's also the release of 9.4. We already have a beta release, so the full release is scheduled for June 15th, I think. So that's 2 weeks from Wednesday. So in addition to the calendar year, we have the Drupal release schedule. So things that we think about now, we can target for Drupal 9.5 and Drupal 10, which are scheduled for release in December. So if we can sort of make some visible progress, have some tasks in mind, that sort of gives us a target to look at. And that also reminds me that something I've mentioned several times before in these meetings, especially when 9.3 was about to be released, is the permissions page for, say, a content type or a vocabulary. That was going to be in the Drupal 9.3 release, but it was removed just before the full release of 9.3.0. But it is back in the beta release of 9.4. So if I look blue in the face, it's because I'm holding my breath waiting for the release of 9.4.0 in 12 days. And I want to see that it's actually still in there. So that's a usability improvement that I worked on.
Yeah, and it's actually like really significant improvement, and one that a lot of people I work with are quite excited to see. So because it's just, I think that was another thing that we've discussed before, is just general like making permission management easier. And so there's, in addition to that issue, you worked a lot on the issue around making it easy to from the module screen actually see the permissions for each module that are relevant, rather than taking you to a dedicated form. And I wonder if there's potentially some other work that could be done in the future to make permissions management even easier. I'm not sure what that would be, but perhaps, again, there might be a meta issue somewhere. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think there's something in the ideas issue queue for permission management. But on the other hand, I think we've made so much progress on that. I don't see that as an ongoing focus. But on the other hand, there are some related issues that that I was looking at while working on these that are still pending. So if someone's interested in doing some additional work on permissions management, I can definitely dig up those issues. They're ready to be worked on.
Yeah, and while we're mentioning other big things, there's also the sort of, I guess you could say, the big piece of work that involves more kind of information architecture type work around the admin UI and how we can potentially restructure that and reorganize that for more of a content creator focus. So of course there's the issue we've looked at before around that kind of thing, and the associated things like content manager role. But that in itself is more of, again, is the kind of issue that really it needs people with experience in designing information architectures and things like that to really champion that kind of issue.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about today? I have a feeling that we should end this meeting early and do some follow-up on Slack and see if we can make some plans for next week.
The only other thing that comes to mind is if we are going to pursue this kind of format, I wonder if it's worth doing a bit of talking to the other, like the Bug Smash initiative, because I feel like there's a similar kind of format there of triaging and championing issues through to completion. So maybe there's some learnings there we can borrow from.
Okay, Ralph gives a thumbs up to that idea. Does someone want to volunteer to reach out to someone in the Bug Smash? Actually, Offner, aren't you involved in Bug Smash?
Not really.
Okay. So Tonya just dropped. Does someone want to volunteer to reach out to someone? I know that Quiet One is involved with Bug Smash, Lee Rowlands, Kristen Pohl. So I know some people in the Bug Smash initiative. So maybe I should take that on. Just sort of ask them what their procedures are for keeping track of the issues they're working on, and making sure they get to completion. Is that sort of what I'm trying to get from them?
Yeah, that would be good. And I think that would be some valuable, because I'm sure they'll have some learnings that have come up along the way of doing that, and things that things that might work easier. I'm sure tagging and meta issues will probably be two things that come up.
Okay. And one other thing I'll do, again, we have the Slack channel, we can use it. I will make a pinned thread to discuss what our goals are for third quarter of 2022, or maybe just what our goals are for the second half of the year, which is leading up to the release of 9.5 and 10.0.
One idea, in the pinned thread, would it make sense to make some sort of poll and let people decide to focus on one topic? Because if we have 2 or 3, then it's might be too much, and I think might be better to focus on one thing and do that one right, instead of having 2 or 3 big ones alongside.
Okay, I will add a poll, although depending on what needs to be done, it's possible that we need developers for improving the user-edit pages, and we need designers for redesigning the appearance page. So I wouldn't want to limit it to just one thing that we're working on, because I want to make sure everyone has something they can work on.
Yeah, true.
But if we could agree on one thing that needs everyone's help, that would be great too.
Yeah. And I was going to say something, but it's went out of my head.
Okay, then let's call it a meeting, and we'll try to do some organization and see you again next week and see what progress we can make.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Benji.
Thank you, Benji, and have a nice
Okay.
weekend, everyone.
Yes.
Have a nice weekend. Bye.